Good afternoon, and on behalf of IPDE, welcome to Webinar Wednesdays. Today we are going to be covering the student progression timeline, engaging students from ABE to job placement. And my name is Alexander Ramirez. I'll be your host for today, and thank you for tuning in. Now, before we get started, I'd like to go over some housekeeping rules. If you have a question at any point during the presentation today, please feel free to type it into the Q&A box. I will be answering questions throughout the webinar, and I'll also set aside some time at the end so that we can answer some more detailed questions. So if at any point during the webinar you see something and you think of a question, please feel free to go ahead and put that in the Q&A option. Throughout the webinar, attendee microphones will be muted and you will be in listen mode only. Today's presentation is being recorded and will be archived and available on the IPDE website within 48 hours. So today we're going to answer 4 questions and explore various components and stages of the student progression timeline. The first of these is, what is the student progression timeline? We're going to explore the timeline and its role in student progression from basic skills acquisition to job placement. We're going to learn the various stages of the timeline and how educators are involved in each of these stages. We're going to learn how they collaborate to provide students with the support that they need to succeed. The second question we're going to answer is why the student progression timeline is important to adult educators. And to answer this, we're going to explore the role that adult educators play in the timeline and the various stages in which adult educators are involved in student development, content knowledge acquisition, and skills development. We are also going to explore the various ways in which adult educators collaborate with career and technical teachers to support one another while utilizing the integrated education and training model. This interdisciplinary approach requires open communication and collaboration between teachers, curriculum developers, and administrators to create an instructional strategy which supports a single set of learning objectives. This single set of learning objectives is based on both adult and career and technical education state curriculum frameworks. The third question we're going to address is, what is the goal of the student progression timeline? Today, we're going to discuss the end goal of the timeline as it pertains to in-field job placement. We're going to discuss the role of the job placement specialist, of industry advisory committees, and industry partners in their various roles, as they work together collaboratively to establish a network of employers. And finally, we're going to answer the question of how does the student progression timeline affect our local economies? And to answer this question, we're going to take a microeconomic look at adult education and career and technical education. And we're going to analyze their roles in preparing students for the workforce. So we do have a lot of content to cover today, and I'm eager to dive in and explore our role as educators in the student progression timeline. To do this, let's first define the major components of the timeline and how they affect the various groups of educators, industry professionals, and students. The main function of the student progression timeline can be organized into 3 components or sections. The AGE, or Adult General Education and Integrated Education and Training component, the Career and Technical, or CTE component, and the Job Placement component. Each of these components relates to the group of educators that play a unique role in the student's progression. In the Adult Education and Integrated Education and Training component, adult educators will collaborate with CTE teachers to teach the skills needed to compete in a career and technical education program, and more importantly, to succeed in job placement. This transition component is critical in the development of basic skills and the integration of entrepreneurship activities. It is during integrated education and training that teachers will have an opportunity to employ interdisciplinary teaching strategies to ensure that students are given the opportunity not only to learn competencies and skills, but also to practice them in a real-world setting or application. The career and technical education component is the bedrock of job skills attainment, of certification, and licensure. During a student's attendance to a career and technical education program, they will learn the skills used in a trade and will attain the content knowledge needed in order to succeed in their job and in the industry. CTE programs are quickly rising in demand as the economy adjusts to meet the needs of local employers. Healthcare, information technology, manufacturing, and transportation are just some of the industries with booming opportunities for career and technical education students. In many of these industries and careers, CTE program graduates earn higher than average wages and earn higher average wages than their peers graduating from traditional academic programs at colleges and universities. This drastic change in demand has opened a surplus of new opportunities for adult students. By integrating CTE programs into adult education using integrated education and training strategies, educators are effectively connecting adult education students to these growing jobs and industries. The job placement component is closely tied to both AGE and CTE components. Elements of the job placement component include building relationships with industry partners, partners who will have a profound impact and influence over the development of a program and the strategic planning of a school. Additionally, teachers will work closely with job placement personnel, administrators, and industry partners to build and expand upon a network of employers who are directly tied to a CTE program. This will support student in-field job placement. Job placement components are heavily dependent on the development of basic entrepreneurship and job skills, which are acquired in both adult and career and technical education. These skills have a profound effect not only on student success in employment, but also on their performance in job interviews. So I do have a question. I'm going to take a small break here to answer. And that question is, how is the student placement timeline different than a career pathway? So the student placement timeline is similar to a career pathway in that it takes a kind of analytical look at the life cycle of a student, right? From the moment that they enter adult or basic education all the way through to job placement. The main difference is the implementation of integrated education and training, which is really a collaborative effort between adult educators and CTE educators in the same classroom. And that integration in the same classroom and the use of a single set of learning objectives is that main differentiating factor. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on this a little later in the presentation as we kind of discuss the role of adult educators and the role of career and technical educators, and how in order to successfully implement IET, they're going to have to collaborate together as they develop this single set of learning objectives. And the reason that collaboration is really important is because adult education and career and technical education use two different curriculum frameworks. So being able to take the competencies and the skill requirements from both of those curriculum frameworks and align them to a single set of objectives is going to be really important in making sure that the entire system is successful in transitioning students from adult education to career and technical education. So very good question. Thank you for that. All right, and we'll move on to our next slide. And this is a graphic of the student progression timeline. So at this point, I'm going to go through each of the stages. Feel free to ask any questions as we go through each of these stages and how it pertains to you as an adult educator. Before we get started, I do want to point out that you can see the blue and the pink sections, and the blue sections are the stages of the student progression timeline, which are directly involved with the adult educator. And the pink sections are those that are directly involved with the career and technical education educator. And that overlap where adult educators and CTE teachers will work together to implement IET is the second stage. So without further ado, let's dive into this. So the first stage of the student progression timeline is when our adult students are entering ESL or ABE to learn basic skills. In this stage, they're learning basic skills acquisition, literacy, reading and writing skills, and of course, those famous and very popular entrepreneurial skills, which are in demand not only in specific career and technical education programs, but across all industries and almost all jobs. The second stage of the student progression timeline is the implementation of adult education in IET. And IET is what we're all hearing about. It's that integration of career prep into adult basic education. And it's that development, that alignment of those two sets of curriculum frameworks to develop a single set of learning objectives. And this compromises reading and writing and math skills, as well as entrepreneurship skills. But also, more importantly, it ties in those competencies and those skills with a single set of learning objectives that also pull in basic knowledge and basic competencies and skills from the CTE program of choice. Now, in the past, I've held some webinars discussing transition academies, and this is precisely in the student progression timeline where you would implement a transition academy. And in that transition academy where you would implement IET, right? That is when you're going to involve career and technical educators in the selection of these objectives. And as you create a transition academy, you as a teacher in collaboration with curriculum developers and your administrators, something to keep in mind is going to be which programs are being provided at your local career and technical institutions. If you have local technical colleges, you're going to want to collaborate with those technical colleges to make sure that your IET programs are lining up with their career and technical programs, so that as your students are going through this transition role, they are actually being prepared effectively to succeed in these CTE programs. Then we move on to the third stage of the student progression timeline, which is the CTE program itself. At this point, the adult student has already learned their basic skills. Hopefully, they have learned their entrepreneurship skills, and they have completed a transition academy. They have succeeded in gaining the skills and the knowledge from the single set of learning objectives set forth by the IET strategy at the adult center. And in the career and technical program, they'll complete a certification, they'll learn entrepreneurship and job skills, and they will prepare for certification and licensure. Right now, there's many popular CTE programs in the medical field, in technology, and in transportation. I myself work at an aviation technical college that produces many graduates for an aviation mechanics program. And many of these students go on to make really fantastic salaries, in many cases $50,000 and $60,000 as a starting salary, which is really a much higher average than what you expect in the local area from a typical academic program or a typical four-year degree. And many of these students graduate from adult education. They come from our ESOL programs, from our district's ESOL programs, and our adult general education programs. And the fourth stage of the student progression timeline is the certification and licensure stage. And in this stage, students will be preparing for the various licensure examinations, and they will participate in study academies in order to succeed in those state and federal licensure exams. And this takes place at the career and technical education institution, whether it's a technical college or an adult center. And of course, the final stage of the student progression timeline and our ultimate goal is job placement. And as educators, we're heavily invested in the development not only of economic skills, but of fostering a good learning environment, of helping our students develop social emotional learning, and at the end of the day, having the skills to be able to succeed financially, to find in-field job placement. And the role of IET in this student progression timeline is really critical in that job placement, because before they enter a career and technical education program, they're going to be learning those basic skills that they need to succeed. And they will also be combining those skills along with the essential knowledge and hands-on skills from a career and technical education program. So let's cover each stage in detail. In the ESL ABE basic skills and entrepreneurial skills integration stage, this is a critical entry stage for many students entering adult education. Without primary or past language experience, many face challenges completing workforce preparation programs and training due to language barriers. During the ESL ABE stage of the student progression timeline, teachers focus on laying the educational foundation comprised of reading, writing, and speaking skills. This stage requires adult educators to facilitate language acquisition, the development of writing skills, and the progression to personal and professional dialogue. These fundamental skills are required at minimum levels to successfully accomplish many employment preparation activities. Therefore, it is important that students succeed in this stage, as it will have a direct impact on student achievement throughout the rest of the student's progression. Although not all students will begin in this stage, it is important that educators understand the importance of the stage's effects on the students that do. During basic skills acquisition, students are learning the foundation on which instruction will be scaffolded in the future. Without a good foundation in reading and writing schools, adult students can struggle to learn the skills and competencies in integrated education and training, and also when they're enrolled in career and technical education programs. In my experience working with various industry advisory committees, in which many major local employers are a part of, I have been informed consistently of the need to emphasize these skills in education. Many employers report that reading and writing skills are inadequate in new employees, both from graduates from CTE programs and even traditional academic colleges and universities. This demonstration from the industries that are hiring our students is an important signal that basic skills acquisition is absolutely critical in the student progression timeline. And we will be having another webinar kind of defining what an industry advisory committee meeting is. But I will give you the gist of it. It is a very important committee that is formed in career and technical education, in which professional organizations and local hiring companies have a direct impact and influence on exactly how a school develops its curriculum and how it progresses and grows its program. And as I've stated here, many of these companies are letting us know that these basic skills are not always, the recent employees are not always showing up with these basic skills maxed out. And this is something that they really want to see in future graduates and in future employees. They really want to hone the verbal and written communication skills. During this stage, adult educators may leverage the use of entrepreneurial exercises to develop critical soft skills, which will benefit students regarding of educational pursuits or career cluster. Critical thinking, effective communication, problem solving, and teamwork are among the highest reported in-demand soft skills. Through the integration of unique multidisciplinary activities into the AGE curriculum, teachers can effectively promote the growth of these skills while simultaneously engaging them on critical ABE, adult high school, or ESOL competencies. The role of entrepreneurial skills in adult general education is pivotal. As essential skills required in almost all industries and professions, entrepreneurial skills define the bedrock of the 21st century employee skill set. In this stage, teachers will implement enjoyable activities which stimulate critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and more in their adult classrooms. These projects can be integrated into language, reading, and math lessons, and in many cases have competencies and skills which align. For many years, entrepreneurial skills have been the bedrock for career readiness in vocational education. And integrating these essential skills into adult education is critical in adequately preparing our students to enter CTE programs and higher education programs. Let's talk about the integration, the IET and CTE preparation stage. During the integrated education and training stage of the student timeline, students are radically improving on these basic skills while incorporating workforce preparation and competencies from career and technical education programs. This stage marks the initial transition from basic skills acquisition to career preparation. During IET, students will benefit from a single set of learning objectives, which outline their learning goals for both adult education and career education goals. This single set of goals will encompass basic skills required to succeed in a career and technical education program related to the student's interests and preparing him or her to take entry-level coursework. During this stage, adult educators may implement transition academies to assist with the delineation of learning goals and the creation of a single set of learning objectives. This collaborative effort between adult educators and career technical education teachers will benefit student achievement by providing multidisciplinary approaches centered around the acquisition of job skills, career preparation, and adult basic skills. To develop an effective single set of learning objectives, adult educators will collaborate with these career and technical education teachers to analyze state curriculum frameworks and determine adequate competency alignment. This collaboration between adult education teachers and career and technical education teachers is what effectively makes up the foundation of IET. The collaborative process of analyzing skills and competencies and aligning framework standards is essential in developing a single set of learning objectives that address the needs of students as they transition from an adult education center to a career and technical education program. This stage is also where the skills and experience of career and technical educators will play an important role in the preparation of adult education students. The integration of transition academies is a good practice during this stage. Students will benefit from the single set of learning objectives while preparing for CTE coursework. Transition academies provide teachers with an opportunity to engage students by utilizing interdisciplinary strategies to teach AGE skills aligned with standards from CTE programs. In many cases, transition academies are industry specific. If you're going to create an academy for aviation maintenance, in my example, the school that I work at, you would use the curriculum for the aviation maintenance programs. And you would ensure that your adult educators are meeting and collaborating with those CTE teachers to ensure that the basic skills that are being taught are lined up with the skills and the needs of the program at the career and technical education institution. These strategies incorporate IET to create instructional goals, which are driven by CTE program content and AGE skills. Interdisciplinary application also provides students with real-world application settings in which to utilize program content and knowledge, basic skills, and critical soft skills. To successfully implement a transition academy, teachers and curriculum specialists must develop the set of learning objectives derived from both sets of frameworks. IET integration benefits from the perspective of multiple teachers from multiple industries. By leveraging industry insight, adult educators can engage CTE teachers to ensure that learning objectives are adequately preparing students for the specific career and technical education coursework, while laying foundations in basic skills which are not only required for in-field job placement, but demanded by many employers. Please keep in mind that interdisciplinary strategies which combine AGE and CTE program content skills Use CTE program content to drive the AGE skills attainment. Choosing classroom content, which is focused around the career and technical education program, not only offers students an opportunity to familiarize themselves with career vocabulary and terminology, but also to learn basic knowledge related to the CTE program and its career cluster. When you are creating interdisciplinary activities, it is critical that educators select the standards and skills which need to be addressed from each of the subject or areas in question. This will be the bedrock of the instructional strategies utilized in the Transition Academy. To organize standards and skills into learning objectives, educators will use templates which combine the set of objectives into a collection of transition skills and activities. Let's talk about career and technical education programs. At this point, the student has transitioned from IET into the career and technical program for which the IET Academy was preparing them for. As the economy adjusts to the development of new technology, the skills required to succeed are shifting dramatically. The current surplus of college and university degrees in certain fields has left a large population of recent college graduates unemployed or underemployed in what are known as gray-collar jobs. In these positions, graduates are neither using the set of skills that they trained for in their formal education, nor being paid significantly less than typical salaries for their acquired education level. The trends in vocational or career and technical education indicate that there is a growing need for graduates from these programs. The need for technical skills in transportation, healthcare, energy, information technology, and business are growing rapidly. Consequently, many job opportunities which require CTE certificates or state licensure are commanding much higher wages than typical four-year programs at competing universities and colleges. This increase in demand is expected to continue as the need for technical skills is increasing with the implementation of new technology. This transition of demand towards career and technical programs provides new opportunities for employment to adult students. Through integrated education and training, adult students can become engaged in career and technical programs of choice before being actively enrolled. This prepares them for the program by learning those critical skills and content knowledge that they will learn in an integrated and education and training program. CTE programs are driven by their connection with the industries that they support. In career and technical education, the relationship between industry and school forms the bedrock for preparing students to work in their fields. This relationship is developed through the implementation of the Industry Advisory Committee, a committee which provides schools with an opportunity to collaborate with industry partners and ensure that a program's goals align with the needs of employers. They are a critical component of career and technical education and play an important role in the development of the programs. Advisory committees are made up of members which represent the student body, the school staff, and most importantly, hiring industry partners. They provide stakeholders with an opportunity to provide meaningful insight, enabling educators and school administrators to make effective strategic decisions on the direction of their programs. In many CTE settings, industry advisory committees are mandated by accrediting agencies, such as the Council on Occupational Education. This connection to industry provides career and technical education programs with the support that they need to grow and are essential to the development of job placement efforts. By involving local industry partners, schools create a network of employers who are directly involved in the strategic growth of the school. This not only provides students with several avenues for employment, but also ensures that the employment is an in-field job placement. And this is something that is very powerful in career and technical education and really drives the entirety of it, is the connection between the schools and the companies that hire the students when they complete the program. That connection helps to do strategic planning for the school. It helps to grow the curriculum and change the curriculum to adapt to the technology as it changes. And it really is what makes career and technical education such a good training and such a good preparation for work. Let's talk about certification and licensure. Preparing students for certification or licensure is a critical component of job preparedness. In many CTE programs, such as aircraft maintenance, nursing, automotive repair, and culinary arts, licensure is required to attain job placement. Moreover, it is often licensure which will provide students with the highest wage opportunities. To ensure that an educational program is supporting student needs beyond program completion, educators and school administrators may leverage the use of academies and licensure practice refresher courses to provide students with additional avenues for licensure exam preparation. This will not only increase the job placement effectiveness of the program, but also increase the average earnings for program completers. Licensure and certification examination prep does not only begin post-program completion. Throughout a career and technical education program, students will engage in multiple examination prep activities and learning strategies to help better prepare them for licensure exams. This component of the curriculum will focus on the competencies required to pass licensure examinations, while highlighting the importance of licensure in the field. In many fields, such as aviation maintenance, the difference in pay from a licensed and an unlicensed professional is drastic and can sometimes mean $10 and even $15 per hour of a difference. So supporting students in licensure attainment also means developing instructional strategies which are supported by summative assessments, supporting scaffolding in the classroom. This continuous building on past knowledge will support the acquisition of critical skills and enhance student learning of the curriculum while preparing them for comprehensive licensure exams. Often emphasizing the importance of the basic skills associated with a CTE program throughout a student's attendance in a program will be of critical value in ensuring that students not only understand the value of those skills, but the context within the whole curriculum. Preparing students for a licensure exam is something that begins way before they join the CTE program. Many licensure examinations test students for basic skills. And I'll keep referring to the case of aviation maintenance as an example. For the general curriculum of aviation maintenance, students will be tested on their ability to read and write, to fill out specific forms and maintenance logs. And many of these skills begin in basic education. They begin with adult educators prior to joining IET and then strengthened in a transition program. It's that combination, that collaborative effort between an adult educator and a career and technical educator that helps to strengthen those basic skills and help them to apply them to the field while being able to use those skills in an actual job-related activity. Job placement is not only the final stage of the student progression timeline, but it is the end goal for us as educators as well. Ensuring that all students find in-field job placement is the goal of the progression process. To do this, schools will ensure to build strong relationships with industry partners and to develop employment networks for program completers. Additionally, educators will teach students critical entrepreneurial skills, which are required to succeed in the workforce. This component of the curriculum will be taught throughout all the stages of the student progression timeline. During this stage, and this is the end goal, although as educators we're heavily invested in the development, as I stated in the beginning of the video, of a student's social emotional well-being and of their basic skills, we are ultimately preparing them for job placement. As adult educators, we're trying our best to ensure that they're learning the basic skills that they need so that they can transition into a career preparation program, succeed in that career preparation program, achieve licensure or certification, and attain job placement. Everything in IET is to facilitate that transition and to build on those basic skills which are needed in the industry. As I mentioned earlier, my experience serving on industry advisory committee meetings has given me a little bit of insight into what employers are demanding from their newly employed students, essentially, students that complete our programs. And some of the things that they talk about is this basic skills acquisition and the ability to apply these basic skills and entrepreneurial skills in the workplace. Are students achieving the goal of having proper written and verbal communication skills? Do they have good entrepreneurial skills? Are they good critical thinkers and problem solvers? And are they good marketers? This is just some of the input that in career and technical education advisory committee meetings, we receive from the industry hiring partners. So in order for us to facilitate job placement, we have to ensure that along the way, and this is something that begins with adult education, that students are learning these skills and that they're learning how to apply them in the field. Let's talk about the components of job placement. The first component is a continued collaboration between a career and technical education school and the industry partners, those same industry partners on the advisory committees. Through these industry advisory committees, schools will develop a network of employers who are ready to recruit newly graduated talent from the pool of graduated students at the school. The symbiotic relationship benefits students, the school, and the industry mutually. Each CTE providing school will have personnel which fill the role of the job placement specialist. And this role is a set of responsibilities which entail the recruitment of new applicants for available jobs, the development of interviewing and job skills, and the organization of job fairs and expositions for students on and off campus. Personnel who are filling the role of job placement specialist will have extensive experience in the industry and will work closely with school administrators and industry advisory committee members to prepare and expand on employment avenues available to students upon program completion. The second component of an effective job placement strategy is the provision of an entrepreneurial skills workshop, which provides students with access to learning critical soft skills, which are in demand in most professions and industries. The provision of these workshops entails job preparation as well as resume building and interview practice. I encourage you as adult educators to join your local industry advisory committee, to reach out to your local technical education, career and technical education institution, and stay in for a meeting so you can see the interaction between the advisory board and its members and the school and how it affects the growth and the strategic planning of a school. Let's talk about the economic impact of career and technical educations. The impact of investing into career and technical education programs is profound throughout state and country. According to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, 36% of Florida's 50 fastest growing occupations require a career certification or licensure, while only 16%, or less than half of that amount, require a bachelor's degree. As the market adjusts to a saturation of certain college majors, demand has shifted towards career and vocational occupations. Licensure attainment is a viable pathway to earning stable income in the state, with many vocational graduates earning higher wages than college graduates. In addition to increasing wages and much higher percentage rate of available jobs, career and technical education students benefit from graduating with little to no student debt. Many career and technical programs receive Title IV funding support to ensure that students have access to federal Pell Grants. These grants pay for most, and in some cases all, tuition-related costs associated with a career and technical education program. Students graduating with good earning potential and no student debt provide a boost to the local economy when they purchase goods and homes. Now, before I open the floor for questions for everyone, I would like to share two websites with you that I think you'll all find very interesting, and the links are also on the associated handouts with today's webinar. The first is a link to the Council on Occupation website. The Council on Occupation Education is the accrediting organization for the career and technical programs across the country. And many career and technical education facilities and technical colleges use the Council on Occupational Education to accredit their programs in order to receive federal Pell Grant. I encourage you to visit their website so that you can get some insight onto the accreditation process. And the reason that I encourage this is because it really gives a lot of insight into industry advisory committees. And there is a separate webinar on that that's coming up actually next week. But definitely check this out because it gives adult educators true insight into the career and technical education world and how industry partners communicate with career and technical educators for strategic planning and curriculum development, and in order to ensure that the students are succeeding upon program completion and that they're actually succeeding in job placement and that they flourish in their careers. The second is an absolutely fantastic video called Success in the New Economy. And this video highlights the shift in demand from a traditional academic four-year degree or college university to career and technical education. The video talks about the increased economic demand for these career and technical education programs and the increase in salaries. It also talks about education as a matter of investment and how the return on investment can be much greater without student loans. So it really is a fantastic video for any adult educator and any career and technical educator to check out. And it's a very fun and short video. I think it's very interesting, and I think you guys will enjoy it quite a bit. So at this moment, I really would like to open up the floor for questions. I know it was a lot of information. I tried to make it, to condense it as much as possible. There are various stages, obviously, like, as we talked about today, and I did want to make sure that we elaborated the most on the IET stage, because that is a stage where adult educators will be communicating with career and technical educators to facilitate that transition from adult education to a vocational program. So I will leave the floor open for a few moments here. If you feel like asking a question, please use the Q&A box to do so, and I will answer all of them the best that I can. Somebody has said that they are unable to read the website from the video. Yes, so the link to the website is also on the handout for this webinar. So if you go to the IPDE website and you download the associated handout, you will be able to click on the link to go to both websites, to go to the YouTube video and also to check out the Council on Occupational Education. So please remember, if you do have a question, to put that in the Q&A and not inside of the chat box. So I see here, what is considered to be a credential of value for entrepreneurship? So entrepreneurship is typically defined as a skill set that many industries have in demand. And what some of those skills in demand, or what these industries are requesting, is critical thinking, problem solving, oral written communication, marketing. So the kind of integration of entrepreneurship skills in adult education and also in career and technical education is really just to sort of prepare students to succeed in that level that's just past just the minimum level of job skills, right? We want to create leaders, and we want to create and we want it to stimulate the development of thinkers. And we want our students to be able to succeed in their industries past just a certification. So what a lot of these industry partners explain in the industry advisory meeting minutes is that they wish or that they would like for the newly graduated students to have more of these skills, right? To be able to think critically, to be able to write emails correctly and properly and deliver and communicate clearly and concisely. So when it comes to the value of entrepreneurship, it's more of a set of skills that management and that leaders are kind of seeking in all their employees rather than a credential, a specific credential. Although you can major in it at the university. So let's go on to the next question. Okay, would it benefit my son, who will be graduating college soon with a bachelor's degree in computer science, to take technical school in IT as well? And the answer to that is absolutely. Specifically in computer and information technology, in that field, what is in most demand is actually certifications. So having certifications on the various softwares is the best way to ensure not only job placement, but to command the highest wage possible when negotiating in an interview. So definitely, if you're in the computer field, having a certification is absolutely essential. And I would argue that that a certification would command a higher wage in some cases than a bachelor's degree. For those of you that were interested in the handout and documents, please refer to the chat. They have posted the link for the webinar handout and the documents so that you may download them and you may access that YouTube video and also access the Council on Occupation Education website. So can students who are mentally challenged, ABE, PTSD, be able to get into and sustain a job in the high need areas, such as EMT, CNA, in your opinion? In my professional opinion, yes. I have never known that to be a barrier for job placement. And in my experience as a teacher and as an educator, I personally have had many students find work just fine. So definitely not a barrier at all. Not for university job placement and definitely not for vocational and career and technical education job placement. And I hope that answers your question. And I will wait another moment or so to give everyone a chance to ask their questions. Glad you appreciate the flow chart. Feel free, as I said, to download the handout from the link in the chat box or to visit the school website, the IPTE website. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to end the questions portion. I would like to thank you all for joining me today. Please take a moment to answer the questions on the screen and give IPTE your feedback. We really appreciate you joining us today. I personally very much appreciate you guys joining us today. I love working with you all and sharing this information. I think that it's really useful, and I really hope that you take it and apply it in practice. For those of you interested, I will be covering the industry partnerships in detail next week. So be sure to sign up for the IPTE webinar for next webinar Wednesday, which is June 16th. And that is very specifically catered to kind of explaining industry advisory committees and how they are being used in career and technical education to select objectives and to grow the strategic, to kind of to drive the strategic growth of career and technical education programs and facilities. So definitely, if you are interested in that, please sign up. And once again, that's for next Wednesday, June 16th, and you may do that on the IPTE website. So without further ado, thank you very much all for joining me today, and have a wonderful afternoon.